Hello again there YouTube. Today I thought we could take a look at another video game console. This is the Commodore Amiga CD32. As the name suggests, it's a 32-bit CD-based system and the first in its type released outside of Japan. The system was released in autumn 1993 and due to limited parts availability and Commodore's severe debt at the time, it was discontinued in late 1995 with something like 120,000 units sold. Graphically, it's basically a stripped-down Amiga 1200 computer. So limited 3D is possible, but it's not to the same high degree as a Sony PlayStation 1 or Sega Saturn. So let's take a look at the console itself. It's quite large, 2 inches longer than the original PS1 and twice the height. The unit is a top loader, which is a manual affair, and many units nowadays need a weight, ideally the power supply, kept on a lid for it to be able to read discs. To the right of the console you can see the reset button, power and reading LEDs and the volume stroke headphone controls. On the left hand side you can see the 9-pin controller ports for player 1, player 2 and the auxiliary socket. On the back of the console, working left to right, you can see the power switch, power supply, TV and serial ports along with a composite AV port. To the left of all of these you can see a large open circuit chip. These were for the availability of a 3.5-inch floppy disk drive so you could play Amiga 1200 floppy disk games, greatly boosting the console's game library. You can get a plastic cover for this to keep all the dust and that out. I've taken it off for the video. On the bottom of the console you can see the original Commodore sticker, and on the bottom right you can see this was from the first month of manufacture, September 1993. This is the original Commodore CD32 controller. Sadly I do not own one of these, but I've put a picture in just so everybody can see what they were like. Very unique design, but sadly very fragile and extraordinarily rare today compared to the amount of consoles there are still on the market. You can use Sega Mega Drive controllers, but sadly due to the lack of shoulder buttons on Sega Mega Drive controllers, not all games are compatible. Off the top of my head, Microcosm will not work so well with the Sega Mega Drive controllers. I do have an aftermarket controller. This is a boomerang controller, which rather handily has the right colour coordination for all the buttons, and also, as you'll see in an upcoming picture, it has the shoulder buttons, so it's compatible with every single game, and quite quickly we'll get used to this controller. However, it's not an ideal controller as the shoulder buttons are really tiny, and during extended gameplay they can start to hurt your fingers. This is the Commodore power supply. It's an external power supply with a small plug, and it's very heavy, very stiff cabling, very much like the modern Xbox 360 controller, though it does work well. Always unplug it, as with any external power supply it can get rather hot and potentially is a small fire risk. So this is my overall opinion of the Commodore CD32. It was a fantastic idea by Commodore and Amiga to make this miniature version of basically an A1200 computer, but there were many things that stopped it from being successful. A lack of North America retailability, a lack of units to sell, and the onslaught of many more technically superior consoles a few months away, including Sega Saturn, the 3DO and the Sony PlayStation 1 would all blow this machine comprehensively out of the water. But it's worth picking up as it's quite a novel little console, and the actual console itself very well made. Prices for a stock console like this with no games are around about £30–35, $70, but the controllers themselves can fetch the same amount of price again, so I'd budget on say £60–70, $120-ish. That would get you a console, a proper controller and 3 or 4 games to get you started. Though always bear in mind you can burn games as there's no copyright protection on the CDs.